If someone asked me to name words that come up in my head when the word OC is said, one that for sure would be there is cringe. Now, recently I realized I literally have OCs and post them on the internet for anyone to see. And I'm quite proud of my lost traumatized children, so I got quite curious about why do I have this assimilation and got carried down a road of questions. Now, the conclusion was that it was indeed me who created this association, but my conclusion is irrelevant because what I want to discuss is a question I explored along the road that is what makes people cringe at OCs. I'll separate this video into three main parts. First is design, second viewer's interpretation, and third is purpose. Now, in terms of design, I saw a lot of comments on over-design and under-design. This leads to no intention behind the design. You can have an over-design, flashy everything meshed together into one character, but there has to be a reason behind all the things you give them. Slapping random things that have no reason to be in the setting or have nothing to do with each other can come off as cringe. Leo, for example. His OC has a prosthetic arm, but the arm's design is to match the OC's surrounding, and many other characters in his illustrations have prosthetics as well. The OC's prosthetic doesn't feel out of place because of this, but also we remember what specific prosthetic she has, and that makes her recognizable and unique in the setting, even though others have them as well. Niarv, which is my OC, has a white hood. It has great contrast with him and makes him recognizable, therefore appearance-wise approved, blah blah blah, but he has it because his body is made out of shadow and sun tires him, so to be able to travel throughout the day for him and Kimiko, he wears a hood to flip off the sun. Another thing that was mentioned was over-sexualization of a character purely for fan service. Now, there's of course a reason people do this, but there are people who are quite fed up with it, and this ties again into the intention behind the character. Of course, you can have a character like that, but there should be a reason behind it. Great example is Evelyn from League of Legends. She lures her victims in with her appearance. There's a reason she's hot. Another thing, unpractical outfits are a conversation of their own. In my world, and I actually haven't drawn this yet ever, I am completely and utterly bullshitting you right now. I have one singular piece of the soldier, so I'll use that in the video. I have these soldiers. Now, the soldiers fight hosts, which host is a person merged with crystal of any type. Among these soldiers, you'll have many eras, but one thing that will be emphasized among them pretty heavily is individualism. They're going to be basically YOLOing their fights, and the best soldiers will become something like legends. Now, each one of these legends have the right to create this very shiny set of armor, create from alloy of these like light crystals and gold that represent them as a legend and hero and whatever. Every individual's armor is designed with something very, very unpractical, absurd, but very recognizable for the person. This armor is worn by them in representative situations of the state and is used as a symbol of the strain they carry in the fights with hosts. You will never see them fight in it. For fights, they'll use way more practical armor or weapons, and some of them fight in an armor that has the theme of the unpractical big shiny bullshit armor, but in a much smaller scale, because it would be impossible to fight in the legendary one. And stuff like this is something that you, as someone who has an OC, can think about and pretty much explore. Other than searching on the internet, I asked some people who know about this topic, and among them were two of my fellow classmates, people with their own OCs. I asked them what experience they had with their characters, with the first one saying they never had a bad experience and always thought of OCs as inspiration, which is an experience related to this topic, but I want to talk about the second one who mentioned a story. They said one time someone misinterpreted their OC for something they are not. This person, apparently very religious, thought the OC is evil, even though in reality the OC was not even intended for such reasons and is supposed to be a very tranquil character, not representing anything religious at all. Now, this may not be the definite definition of cringing, but it is seeing the OC in a negative light. And that ties me into the last thing I want to talk about, which is the OC's purpose. And I feel like this is a thing that gets ignored so much. One of the people I was asking about this topic is one of my art teachers, and we got into a conversation that was about people creating those very, and this is a very known meme among artists, traumatized OCs. They mentioned a very cool point, and I'm absolutely making a quote out of it because my teacher is just, brilliant. People should rather be looking at why someone creates such a character, not condemn it. And it's so true. As a viewer, I never asked about the intention behind OCs I see on the internet. I thought some of them were cool and others I didn't really pay attention to. Is it to represent the channel? Is it a self-expression? Is it purely for fun? Is it for views? Is it for personal projects? Is it for a challenge? Asking this is something that can inspire me and affect my work, which I didn't really realize. Of course, an OC can be multiple, all, one, or neither of these. My point is, I feel like hate can come from misunderstanding the author's intention, and since life isn't simple, this point actually disagrees with my first one. Whatever you're doing, if it's not insulting or hurtful to people or, yourself, whether a person cringes at your creation doesn't really matter. Now, what you're creating may matter to you because of your goals. If your goal is to improve, you should look into what you're doing. And that's again why I'm bringing up this question, because if you are a creator and your OC represents you and your channel, you naturally do not want people to cringe at your OC. If someone's goal is to have fun and experiment, and whatever they're doing is fun and experimental for them, then that's just fine. It's easy to not leave a mean comment, and that brings me to my final conclusion. I no longer need to search for answers because I know that what makes people cringe at OCs are their subjective opinions. There's many types of OCs and different ways to go about them, and again, if they're not representing something hurtful for others, they're all fine and they all have their own audience for them. Now, this may bring up the question of which OCs you should post online and which ones you should keep for yourself, but that is a question that should be answered by you. I saw multiple people mention young or inexperienced artists that do what they're doing now and will grow out of it over time. And that's a completely reasonable stage to be at in your art. But what I think those people meant by it was that those artists don't think about if they'll be happy about what they shared on later. They just do without much thought. Which this isn't a case for all of them, of course, but it may be for many because of unclear long-term goals. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. If you're watching this and you have your own experience you'd like to share, I'm really eager to hear it. So if you have a few minutes of your time, write it in the comments, and good night.